Hi, my name is Mark Walker. I'm the editorial director at the FinTech Times, and we're here in Riyadh at 24Fintech. I'm going to start off by asking my interviewee to introduce himself to you, the audience.
Hi, I'm Tim Phillips. I am the Managing Director of Smart Pension, covering the Middle East and Asia region.
Fantastic, Tim. Thank you very much for joining us here. We'll get to a little bit about FinTech, 24Fintech shortly, but first of all, give me a little bit of overview of what Smart and Smart Pensions do.
Sure. So Smart is a global technology company. We've operated for about 10 years. We operate specifically in the pensions and long-term savings space. So we build pension technology platforms. We have our own proprietary platform called Keystone. We work with financial institutions around the world. They could be banks, insurance companies, or even some public sector entities that want to offer occupational pension schemes at a very large scale. Our technology can power all of that so that they're able to get that out to their customers.
Fantastic. So obviously, being that I'm also from the UK, and in Europe, pensions are a quite well-known offering, normally linked to your employer, etc. What's the differences between how pensions are viewed over here in the Middle East region?
So there's a lot of differences, I think, between these two things. Our genesis was in the UK. So 10 years ago, we started in the UK and we offered a workplace pension ourselves. So we're a provider in the UK, which we still are. We have over 1.5 million people in the UK are saving with Smart Pensions. So using the smart technology, but also using the pension fund that we created. Now, we took the technology element of that and we expanded that element globally so that entities can white label our technology and that they can do what we did in the UK. In the UK, then, since 2012, you've had this policy of automatically enrolling workers into a occupational pension scheme. So every company, whether they're a huge bank or whether they're a cafe, a dry cleaner, a small company, they have an obligation to pay contributions every month into a workplace pension scheme for all their employees. That concept is in some other countries. There's some countries where it's fairly embedded: Australia, Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong. A lot of countries which have a very, very similar model. It doesn't really exist in the Middle East, but it's growing in importance. It's growing in something that the countries here are looking at, regulators are looking at, and also financial services institutes. They're looking to bring products into the market. Because they see, I guess, a few global trends which makes us really important. Firstly, we're living longer, so the amount of money that we're going to need to stretch to last our retirement after we finish work is becoming more and more important. And then also, we have an aging population. So bluntly, people are having too few children, fewer children than they used to, and what you have is an aging population. So you have not as many people who are generating tax revenue to meet social security obligations. So these are big, big problems to solve. And that's what we're looking to do in various countries around the world, including here in the Middle East.
Yeah, so I guess specifically as we're here in Riyadh, Riyadh's a really interesting country. And for people that don't know very much about the region, obviously it's a population of about 40 million. However, there's a vast scale of different, whether you call them class, whether you call them employment levels, ranging from lower paid workers to higher paid workers. So you would think that actually pensions are actually very important in this area because there's also not a state subsidized healthcare system, etc. as well. So is that one of the reasons that you think that sort of Saudi's really interested in your type of solutions?
I think you're right. So I think you have a few different sections of the population that you can think about here. So you can think about the locals. So you have roughly 20 million locals who will either be in employment or will be coming up to employment, retired from employment. They have a reasonably generous pension fund, which is paid for by the government. There's been some changes to that recently, but still, I think by global standards, this is fairly generous. Then you also have approximately 10 million people working here who are from other countries. So expatriate workers, and these could be people doing very highly paid office jobs, or they could be people doing lower paid jobs who've come from countries in South Asia, Southeast Asia. There's a big population who are working here. So there's different needs for different elements of that population, and you need to have a holistic solution that is both covering for the locals who are going to be retiring here, living here long term, and then also people who are working here temporarily will ultimately one day go back to their home country. And if they've had a period where they haven't been saving for their retirement, that's going to be a significant problem for them.
Yeah, and I guess that expat sort of community is sort of exaggerated in other areas in the region, like the UAE, which obviously doesn't have very much of a local population at all, but is pretty much sort of 80% immigrants and expats. So I guess you're also looking at the UAE as a key market for pension solutions as well.
Exactly. So we're already present in the UAE. We already have a number of key clients in the UAE. There's been some reforms recently to a model called end of service gratuity, and our technology has been part of those reforms. We've been doing that in the UAE for about 5 years now, had a presence there for about 5 years. We think that has been received very well, and we can see other Gulf countries who are looking at that model and saying, how could we replicate this? How could we learn from this? How could we adapt it and do it slightly differently? But the same trend still applies. So the same trend still applies that you want to be encouraging people to save earlier and save more, because that's the biggest way that you can make an impact for your retirement.
And perhaps a slightly unfair question, because you probably may not understand, but do you think there is a time where it may be mandated in various regions, UAE, Saudi, to have a similar auto-enrollment system like the UK?
Yeah, so it's already started to happen, actually. So you have in parts of Dubai, in the DIFC, in a free zone in Dubai, then this came in a few years ago. So our technology powers that change. So every employee who works for a DIFC company has to do this. So rather than doing the old end of service gratuity model, they have to be paying in a contribution every month. So there's been a lot of fantastic work from the DIFC and some of their partners there. Zurich, the insurance company, are there doing a fantastic job as the administrators of this plan. But that's using our technology. So yeah, I can absolutely see that model taking off in other countries. And I know that a lot of countries looking very, very closely at how that's gone.
Okay, it's really interesting. And then final question, we're here at 24Fintech, the first event here. What are your thoughts about the event, and how did you feel when you first walked in?
Genuinely really fantastic events, I think. I've been to a number of events in Riyadh. Leap is obviously huge technology, but I think having a fintech-focused event is really, really forward-looking, and yeah, they do stuff so well here in Saudi Arabia. It's really, really professional, fantastic, lots of amazing stands around. So yeah, I've been very much enjoying spending time here.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Tim, for joining me with the FinTech Times.
Thank you very much.